Welcome to Believers Talk with Joe and Steve. I'll be your host. My name is Joe, and welcome to another edition of the 2018 Position Breakdown Series, where we go through position by position for the Buffalo Bills and say where we think they rank, who's going to make the final roster, 53-man roster, and who's kind of going to be either on the practice squad or maybe looking for a job come early or late August, early September. We don't know. But in this edition, we're going to go over the defensive tackles. We went over in the previous edition, we went over defensive ends. We actually done every defensive position other than defensive tackle. So this is the last defensive position. And then our next video will start again with the offense. We'll start on the outside, work our way in. There are a lot of questions on the offensive side of the ball, so be sure to stay tuned for those. You'll want to know what I think is going to happen on the offense, how we are going to handle the possibility of not having McCoy for a couple of games, and whether or not that will happen, we don't know yet. But we're going to get into the defensive tackles. Before we do that, however, if you have not already subscribed to this channel, like I said, you're going to want to subscribe because we're going to keep doing these position breakdowns year by year. Every position we'll do. But we'll also have you covered, whether it be off-season, preseason, regular season, and hopefully into the postseason. So stay tuned right here. Subscribe. Turn on your notifications so you know when we're posting new videos. We'll start going live a little bit. We'll do some live play-by-play of the games as they're going on. We won't be able to show them, but that's just some of the things we are looking into doing coming into 2018. So if you haven't already subscribed, please be sure to do so. So getting into the defensive tackles, as most of you know, if you've seen any of these videos, you know that my favorite current Buffalo Bill player is Kyle Williams. I'm sure that a lot of you feel the same way. His longevity with Buffalo, his kind words towards the city, and just what he's meant to the team even throughout this drought has meant a lot. So he's probably my favorite player. However, I have to admit that in 2017, the defensive tackle position was probably my least favorite position. If I was doing this last year, I would have graded them at an F for sure. Going into 2018, that we need to make a lot of additions or a lot of changes to the defensive tackle position. Listen, guys, last year we finished 29th in run defense. We finished 29th in sacks. I mean, these kinds of stats need to change if we want to have a top 10 defense. I believe we can have a top 10 defense, and obviously our secondary and our linebacking core is going to help out with that. All right, we just need the defensive ends and the defensive tackles to step up and do what they need to do. Get some pressure on those quarterbacks. Stop the run so teams don't just run against us because they know they can't pass against us. Our pass defense, we had so many interceptions last year, so many takeaways. It was awesome to see. But then we give it up with all these run defenses, and especially with getting a young offense, a young quarterback. Let's try to give him the ball as much as we can. Get off the field on third downs. But it was just a big disappointment last year, right? And I'm sure I'm not the only one. So love you, Kyle Williams, but we're happy to see that we got some new acquisitions during the offseason, and we drafted a new defensive tackle. So now you're not alone, and you can help out with that growth on the defensive line. So getting into the defensive tackles, we currently have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 listed on our roster currently. Again, as I've said in every video, currently we have 89 players, only 53 carry to the regular season, so we want to get this down to 53. Last year we carried 4 defensive tackles. I could see that changing, but again, I'm just going off of last year's roster breakdown, so we're going to go with the 4 again. So I'm going to go through the list of names, and we'll see who we think will make the team. I do think with defensive tackle, it's a little more clear cut. Okay, I know that with a couple of the other positions, it was like, okay, who's going to take that last spot? And maybe here you'll have a fight for that 4th spot. But I think the first 3 definitely are easy to see. That 4th one should be relatively easy to figure out. But that's why they play the game. That's why we have training camp. That's why we have preseason. That's why these guys are here to show us what they can do. Maybe get a future contract. Maybe get on the practice squad, something of that, so they can keep working at this and then maybe get better, improve, and then that's why they're here. So we'll go down the list real quick. Don't have much to say about a lot of these guys, just because the defensive tackle position doesn't get a lot of the stats that the other positions get. Normally your defensive tackles draw people in, and then the ends are the ones who get the sacks, and your defensive tackles might get the tackles in the run game. Run stuffers is what we're looking for, but the Bills didn't have too many of that last year. So we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully in the future we do better with that. We did again in the draft pick up Harrison Phillips, who is a run stopper. So that's one of his main strengths. So hopefully that works out for us. But let's go down this list. The first guy on this list is Ricky Hatley. This is his second year out of Missouri. Now, last year he was with the Buffalo Bills, undrafted free agent. We signed him. However, he only played Week 17, got one tackle in that win against Miami. Maybe they put him in because they were getting Kyle Williams ready to run that touchdown in. Good job, Kyle. First offensive touchdown of your career. You deserve it. But maybe he was working on that in practice, so they brought in another defensive tackle. I'm kidding. He had one tackle, so I'm sure Kyle Williams did a great job. So, but there's Ricky Hatley. Marceus Lewis is listed as both a defensive end and a defensive tackle, depending where you look. I could have probably put him in the last show with the defensive ends. However, on the list I looked at, he was listed as a defensive tackle. Again, versatility actually will help you in Sean McDermott's system, right? Sean McDermott loves that versatile player. So look at Marceus Lewis maybe to possibly step up and become a player maybe. I'm not sure. I personally don't think so. I think we have too much star power now. I say star power like we're deep at those positions, right? But I think we do have players that will step up and take those starting roles and start on the 53-man roster over him. One of those being Star Lotulelei. Off-season signing from the Carolina Panthers, was a Carolina Panther free agent, and then came over to the Buffalo Bills. Not like jaw dropper, right? Had I think like 42, 43 tackles last year's sixth season. So we do get a little younger on the defensive line, but it's hard to not get younger when your star player is a 13-year vet. So. But yeah, we do get a little younger, and there's a familiarity there with Sean McDermott, so hopefully we'll be able to step in right away and take that. And then we got Teni Pelopoi, played most of his ball with the LA Chargers. Did miss, I believe, the 2015 or maybe 2016 season. He missed the whole season. So this is his fifth year, but he's really played 3 of his first 4 years. So again, not too much going on. He had 24 tackles last season with 1 sack. Not sure if those numbers are what we're looking for, but he did come over as a free agent, so he's going to get a look, and that's all you could do. Now moving on to the guy we drafted in the 3rd round from Stanford, Harrison Phillips. Again, he's listed as a run stopper, so we really look forward to that. And this is the kind of guy that Kyle Williams is probably going to mold and turn into a great, hopefully, defensive tackle. From what the scouts said, he stands upright sometimes, but he is able to take on the double teams. And he used to be a wrestler, actually, in high school, and I think a little bit in college too. So his technique is a little different, they said, but he has unique ways of finding the ball, which helps against offensive tackles. So used to one thing, do something different, and you'll find your way to get into the ball faster. But yeah, run stopper, we really need that. So I'm looking forward to Harrison Phillips in the future, 2018. Adolphus Washington, this is his 3rd year out of Ohio State, has played for the Bills his whole career. Again, not too much though. I think he started a few games last year, had 33 tackles, 1 sack. So, again, not great numbers, but and that's why it's so easy to block those defensive ends. You hear these numbers and you're like, well, no wonder there were no double teams on the inside. They were all on the outside. There's no need to double team anyone on the inside because they're mostly your passing type defensive tackles, and they're not getting to the quarterback that much. So again, tied for 29th in sacks. It's not good, guys. And then we have, of course, Kyle Williams. 13th year, he had 53 tackles last year, 0 sacks. Again, he's getting older. I understand that, but when does longevity take effect, and being nice and whatever to a player who's been with you for 13 years? When does that drop? You have to respect the player who has been there, and he's done so much for Buffalo. You have to do something for him too. I get that, but signed a 2-year contract during the offseason, so I'm happy that he remained a Bill. And I hope he retires as a Bill. I mean, he's been here since 2006, guys. He's been here pretty much for most of the drought, right? I mean, for most of the first 5 years, but you're talking about that long of not making the playoffs, staying with one team. I mean, that's pretty impressive. And to get that last year was just awesome for him. I mean, you see him with his boys in the locker room. I still think about it, and it's crazy. It was just an amazing feeling. You all know, you were there. You know, you were feeling it as soon as Cincinnati scored that touchdown. You were jumping up and down just like the team was in the locker room. It was pretty awesome. So those are a list of defensive tackles that are currently on the roster. I believe, like I said, I believe this is pretty simple to go down the list here. Star Lotulelei, he's going to be on the starting roster, right? Signed him again in the offseason. Pretty significant deal, multi-year deal. So he'll definitely be a starter come the regular season again, unless something would happen as far as injury is concerned. Go through Harrison Phillips. Harrison Phillips is going to be there. He's going to either be a starter or he's going to sit behind Kyle Williams. But then they'll be rotating. Hopefully they'll be rotating. Again, Kyle Williams, he can't take the load he used to be able to take, right, on his body. So whether it be the second half of a game, second half of the season, we're going to want Harrison Phillips to kind of fill that void more and more. So that way when Kyle Williams does come, he's fresh and he's ready to go. Because Kyle Williams can still be a game changer when he has those fresh wheels. So I could see Kyle Williams and Harrison Phillips kind of trading back and forth. And then we have Adolphus Washington, who I think will be our third guy on the list. And then Kyle Williams, of course, will be our fourth. So let me know what you think. We did get Tenny Pelopoi from the Los Angeles Chargers. So maybe we got him. So he would be the fourth guy. I don't know. Who do you think is going to be our four guys that make the 53-man roster? Or do you think we're going to have five? Because I think we could see that, especially with Kyle Williams getting up there in age. It would be nice to have an extra guy in there to keep rotating. And maybe we do that because Marcavis Lewis is listed as both a defensive tackle and defensive end. Maybe he stays on the team just because he does give you that versatility and he can play the position. And we all know that the trenches is where people get hurt the most. Not necessarily like hurt for like the season, but we see it all the time that they have to come out for a play or two. That matters. Those are big because as soon as they see Star Lotulelei go out for a play, guess where they're probably going to go? They're going to go to his side because, well, he's hurt. So who do they have in? Unless we have someone who has proven that he can be a good backup and fill that void. So that's what we have for the defensive tackle. Those are my four. Again, if I was to do the grading last year on our defensive tackle, I'd probably get an F. They didn't do a good job getting to the quarterback. They didn't do a good job relieving the defensive ends from pressure. They didn't do a good job against the run. I mean, it's just not good. Now we have made adjustments, but we are not going to go from an F to an A, at least not in my book. I mean, I have to see it first before I can just say, hey, these defensive tackles are going to rule the show. No, I don't think that's the way it's going to be. I think it's going to take time to get that unit together and to get that all figured out, both with the defensive end and the defensive tackles. You know, that's all one line. They got to figure it out together. And hopefully they do that in the training camp, and hopefully they do that in preseason, and we see that come into the regular season. But for now, I would have to give them a C-, maybe even drop them down to a D+. I don't see enough there to say, oh, they warrant, a B or an A, or, we look good now on defensive tackle because we got these guys. Like that's not the case. I think our defensive tackle position is still on defense, probably one of our weakest positions there. And so that's why we kind of went from best to worst here. And unfortunately, we went from best to worst from defense to offense. I truly do believe that our defense is going to be much better than our offense this year, maybe for a couple years yet. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll be grading those as well shortly. So if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, subscribe so you can keep watching these breakdowns. Again, we'll have the offense on here, and then from there we'll get into training camp, get you those updates that you want. Because here we go, guys. We're 50 days away. 50 days away from opening kickoff. It's amazing. I can't wait. I'm excited. I hope you're excited too. So like I said, subscribe to this channel, like or dislike this video, leave a comment, like us on Twitter, or like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, do all that kind of stuff, social media like crazy. But until next time, go Bills.